Yo, what's up? Today we're looking at face IQ is delusional. That's right, guys. I could be delusional. So, yep. We'll look at face IQ is delusional today.
In this video, I want to react to Face IQ in his latest video called 100% Proof Humans Are Carnivores. So let's go.
So here we have a 100% proof that humans are carnivores. So a stable isotope analysis of a woman who lived 13,000 years ago during the glacial period, during the Ice Age, showed megafauna made up around 96% of her diet, with mammoths comprising around 40%, followed by elk, bison, camels, and horses. So not just meat, but large animals specifically made up around 90%, 96% of this woman's diet, followed by a negligible contribution from small mammals and plants. Okay, so, what percent of this other 4% besides these large animals was meat, while small mammals versus plants, if we gave a generous serving to plants, that would be 98% meat. Okay, and her son ate the same way. These people were not eating plants, and they were thriving. Again,
What do you mean by thriving? So just because we had a few populations that had to survive on meat doesn't mean they were thriving. They were actually living much less than the average.
Horrible argument for a few reasons. Wasn't a few generations. This is basic history, really. Anthropology. We were in the Ice Age for most of our development as Homo sapiens. Almost 97% of that time we were eating only meat. The Ice Age was the glacial period essentially was 2.6 million years ago to 12,000 years ago. Our species came about during the Ice Age. That's when we developed. That's when our brains were getting bigger. That's when we grew our population. That's when we were adapted to eating meat. We still are adapted to eating meat. We just have strayed from that due to agriculture. After we started farming plants, our average height went down around 4 to 6 inches, depending on the area, dramatically, instantly. Now we're back up to a 5'9" average. That was the average before agriculture. The average human size today is the same as a human 12,000 years ago because it set us back so far. And then he's comparing the life expectancy. It doesn't take into account medical intervention, infant mortality. Obviously, the median age was and the mean age was lower back then, but that doesn't have to do with modern diseases like atherosclerosis, which the first case of atherosclerosis was in Egypt once we started farming grains. That was the first case of that. Same with heart disease. Heart disease didn't exist back then. They were eating a ton of saturated animal fat, right? Food for thought.
Average today.
To be clear, not a good argument at all.
single nutrient is gone from the diet, you can't go to the next generation. If a diet has no B12,
Okay, so the goat this argument, as always, just parroting goat this. A lot of these you can get from plants as well, and nutrients like carnitine, creatine, carnosine, taurine, cholesterol, they're not even essential in the first.
They are essential nutrients. You don't need to consume them, but to be optimal, you definitely need to consume them. We look at every study of like taurine and creatine. If you make your body make it all itself, you're going to be deficient compared to what's ideal. You won't die, you're going to be deficient. So, what is the argument? Do we want to just scrape by and barely have enough creatine, or do we want to have enough creatine, an actual good amount of creatine? Really important for muscle synthesis. I would see no reason why you wouldn't want to eat meat, which is the only thing with a lot of creatine naturally, which is why meat and animal products are like naturally anabolic in terms of muscle growth. They have everything you need for it. And he said a lot of these vitamins are in plants. Which ones? There's none.
Place. Everything that's essential that's here, you can get it from plants. So yeah,
B12, vitamin A, vitamin D, those aren't in any plants at all.
really stupid argument. Just parroting goat this, as always.
But see, by definition, he's just wrong. Plants only have beta carotene, not vitamin A. They don't have vitamin D, that's an animal hormone. They don't have K2. They don't have EPA or DHA. They don't have B12. Everyone knows they don't have B12. How could you even just say this stuff's all in plants? They don't have heme iron.
no vitamin A, no vitamin K2, no B6, no
That's not true. In studies, vitamin A, etc., from plant sources, they cure deficiencies. So again, another false argument.
heme iron.
That doesn't mean that they have vitamin A. That means that they're eating a ton of beta carotene, and then there's the small conversion rate. That doesn't mean they have vitamin A. And curing deficiencies, deficiencies are based on RDAs, and they're based on average populations of lab testing, which are unhealthy people. So even if you were to cure your deficiency, that's just a man-made arbitrary value. Nature suggests we need a lot more vitamin A to be properly developed. It's going to come down to, okay, are you going to try to say you can scrape by on plants, or why not advocate for what is nutritionally excess, right? That's how I see it. I mean, if you want to try to cope, like, oh, okay, I need my 10 sweet potatoes to convert the beta carotene to vitamin A. Dude, if that's you, go for it. I wouldn't recommend it, though.
If
Plant iron, although it's less bioavailable, it's actually selective. So one problem that carnivores have is they absorb too much iron, which is obviously bad for the blood. You don't want too little nutrients, but you don't want too many nutrients. You can
Iron at the upper end compared to the population. That's not too much, though. The population's deficient relative to that because that is our natural diet. Where the people in the Ice Age who were eating 100% meat, essentially, they weren't having iron issues. They weren't dropping dead. They were dying to natural causes. They weren't dying to atherosclerosis or heart disease.
get iron overload.
It's not a good argument. See the fact, and then when you look at people like the Inuit who eat 100% meat, and those that do live off spawn, they don't die as a baby, they live very long. They live to 80s and 90s. That's the reason they don't live longer is the cold climate.
With heme iron, which is much less selective, and your body's way better at downregulating excess iron from plants than heme iron, which is iron.
You'd have to prove there is such a thing as excess iron from eating only meat, because all of our cultures and tribes have been doing it with no issues.
Iron from animal foods.
I mean, you have the Maasai, they're drinking blood. You know how much iron that has? So much. So much more than a carnivore diet, even though blood kind of is carnivore. I hate the word anyway, but
a diet is not conclusive, you will not be able to have offspring. Maybe one generation, and then you will...
That's just fear mongering. For most of human history, we had plant-based diets. For like 99% of our time, we didn't eat meat daily.
He's, I think this, what I noticed when I skimmed through this video, I think he's using, like, he's counting hominids and, like, all of, I'm talking about Homo sapiens, which have been around for 300,000 years. Those are humans. That's what we care about. And 99% of human history, meat was not eaten daily. It's just by definition false. Because I can show you 50 stable isotope analysis confirming this not to be the case. It's just by definition false. We look at the proteins of the bones. They were eating tons of meat. Upwards of 50% in every population ever. Typically above 80%. Sometimes up to 100%. Look at the Inuit. Meat wasn't eaten daily. I mean, maybe if they had a failed hunt, they didn't eat it that day. But hunter-gatherers with seasonal and opportunistic meat. I wonder what he put into ChatGPT to get this response. That's hilarious. Of course, it's all ChatGPT resources.
That was the exception, not the rule. And these people...
Before daily meat eating became common only after the rise of agriculture? I mean, man, if you just have any logic, you can see the source is absolute bunk. Yeah, man, after we started farming plants, then we only ate meat.
will act as if it's the rule. It wasn't. We evolved on plant-based diets. We only
But every stable isotope analysis doesn't agree with that.
started eating meat daily after agriculture, which was like 10,000 years ago. And before then, catching animals and eating meat was an exception, not the rule. It wasn't a daily phenomenon for most of human history. And our brains developed way before we started eating meat daily. So it wasn't cooked meat that made us humans.
You know, because we see
Wow,
veganism even
this guy has some wild takes, man. I'll say that.
tanks people in the generation. You know, a person switches to vegan, 95% quit after 5 years because it's so...
Okay, so now show me the stats for carnivores. Probably similar. The vast majority of carnivores...
There's no studies on raw carnivores that are drinking blood, eggs, seafood, meat. No such thing exists, sorry.
quit their diet. Why bring that up?
It's more anyway. It's 15% here after 5 years, but I don't care. That's not a carnivore diet. That's a cooked carnivore diet. And those people aren't drinking blood. Those people aren't eating organs, typically. Vegans, there's no right way to do that diet because it's all deficient in the same things. But with animal foods, there is a right and wrong way to do the diet. So this isn't accurate either.
efficient. There's another part I wanted to review here. Colombian mammoths are about 13 feet tall. Again, these are very fatty mammoths. These people were most likely getting 80% of their calories from fat, as that is our natural primary energy source.
No, it isn't. It's glucose. Dietary glucose, not gluconeogenesis, which is a way less efficient way for the body to have energy.
Another mistake. Gluconeogenesis is always active. Whether you eat carbs or not in the diet, your gluconeogenesis is active. As he said that, his gluconeogenesis was active. And it's at the same rate as well. That's the funniest part. Gluconeogenesis is at the exact same rate almost, whether you eat carbs or not. So, another massive blunder. Not educated on the topic. Not at all. This is another thing Clavicular got wrong. He's speaking, gluconeogenesis takes your amino acids. Bro, it's doing that for you right now. Every single human watching this has their gluconeogenesis at the same rate as someone who's carnivore. Crazy to understand, I know. Completely false.
Ketone production is a lot more efficient than glycation.
That's not true.
For sure.
That's not true. I'm glad you gave your religious opinion. Sadly, when we look at the byproducts of oxidizing fat versus glucose, it's far superior in every metric. Fat breaks down to just water, essentially, which you can actually use, and the water that comes from fat oxidation has a low deuterium content, that within the ideal range, whereas water you're going to drink at the store is like 150 ppm deuterium. So the deuterium water you get from fat oxidation itself is a great argument for it. Next, no advanced glycation end products, no blood sugar spikes. The list goes on. Ketone production, fat metabolism versus sugar metabolism. Fat metabolism is on top by far, and it's not close.
And there was something else I wanted to find.
I can give another argument too. Every time you eat exogenous blood sugar and your blood sugar goes above 4 grams in the complete blood sugar system, then you'll have an excess of blood glucose, which is toxic. This is a blood sugar spike or raise, and that causes cell membranes to die, lipid rafts to get torn, causes cells to get killed outright. Excess blood glucose in your blood is toxic by definition. That's what diabetes is. It's chronically elevated blood glucose, which is why diabetics have to get amputations. They suffer horrible health conditions because excess blood sugar is toxic.
They compare the mother's diet as revealed by the analysis to various omnivores and carnivores, including big cats, bears, and wolves. Her diet resembled that of Homo therium, a now extinct scimitar-toothed cat that hunted mammoths. So we are carnivorous by definition, naturally. Now, would we have eaten more plants if it wasn't an ice age? Yes, but this proves that meat is the driving power of our livelihood and of our nutrition.
You're talking about a very small percentage of human history. And it wasn't even...
I knew it. Yep, homonyms. We do not give a fuck. I don't care what apes were eating. Those aren't humans or anything. They had a completely different digestive system. Humans, Homo sapiens, ate meat for 97% plus of... Well, we ate 100% of human history. We'd be dead if we didn't. But for 97% of human history, we ate predominantly meat. And every stable isotope analysis confirms this. I'll put this in my references tab, link down below. Since this guy loves ChatGPT, let's use it. So out of the 300,000 years of being Homo sapiens, what percent do we have some meat consumption? The shift to agriculture was roughly 10,000 years ago. This means humans were hunter-gatherers relying heavily on meat for roughly 288,000 to 290,000 years. In percentage, roughly 96 to 97% as a species. And again, even ChatGPT will say, in many climates, 60-80% animal-based meat, fish, fat, which again, the stable isotope analysis confirmed that. Even after agriculture, many groups still supplemented their diets with animal products. The actual percentage with some meat in the diet is closer to 99 to 100%. Summary, humans have eaten meat virtually all of our species' existence, roughly 96 to 100% of it, depending on how you define some meat, because we would have died if we didn't. This guy's facts are talking about millions and millions of years before we were even Homo sapiens, which no one cares about. We're talking about our current species. Early hominins were omnivorous. Omnivorous barely even exists, by the way. Every animal is pretty much herbivorous or carnivorous. That's their preference. Then they are adapted to eat other things if they need to. And us humans, monogastric digestive system, 1.5 pH stomach acid, our nutritional needs. We are, by definition, a hypercarnivore because naturally we eat 70% or more meat. That's the definition of a hypercarnivore. We're, by no definition, omnivorous. Like, even a wolf has the amylase enzyme to digest starch. A wolf has the enzyme to digest some sugars from fruits and root vegetables. What does the wolf prefer? The wolf does not need that starch. The wolf prefers meat. Same with humans.
All humans, it was just some populations. And if we were supposed to have a meat-based diet, then why does meat increase pro-inflammatory markers like CRP, IL-6, TNF-alpha? Why does meat increase?
I can't report on what they were eating. I can't report on their metabolism. I can't report on what this kangaroo meat was cooked in, if it's cooked.
Inflammation in the body.
And, if you were to look at, zoom in on a certain mechanism, right, you could say, oh, meat, increases mTOR. That's not an inherently bad thing. What were these animals fed? There's a million things. Now, doesn't matter, because if you took this, let's say you say, okay, I'm going to look at this and not eat meat because it raises inflammation. Then you'll die. Okay, there you are. If this was true, then humans wouldn't even be able to live at all. Okay, we'll avoid meat to avoid inflammation, then we'll just die. Okay. Sounds like a good plan.
If you're supposed to eat it for most of your diet, because you're not.
Because
Wow, he's really anti-meat. That's really interesting.
you'll never find an analysis of any human pre-agriculture eating 100% plants. It does not exist.
Humans were omnivores for pretty much 100 or almost 100% of their history.
Not by definition, though. By definition, hypercarnivorous. Because just because you don't eat only meat doesn't mean you're not a carnivore. Because a wolf doesn't eat only meat. There's some apes that will eat other apes. They'll eat animals. Animals are very adept to eat a lot of things, which is why things got confusing for us. Because, yes, we're able to eat fruit. Yes, we're able to eat dairy. Yes, we're able to eat plants. We can tolerate them somewhat. It's very confusing. Not optimal, though. Every animal has a very specific optimal diet. By no means is it omnivorous by this guy's definition.
Sometimes they'll eat more than this, obviously, like maybe 30-40% at the most, typically 10 to 20%. That is fibrous tubers, that is seasonal fruit. Okay?
Indeed.
By definition,
No, we actually have data from Neanderthals and ancient humans going back
Those aren't humans. We do not give a fuck.
tens of thousands of years ago, if not more, proving they actually ate things like
No, these are humans. Okay, good. But Neanderthals, come on. Again, just because some people were grinding up seeds to eat doesn't mean they're optimal. We have to look at the biochemistry and physiology of said thing. They're not optimal.
grains and legumes and stuff like that. It's not just tubers.
we are carnivorous.
But in the stable isotope analysis, it shows that the only significant food besides meat was fruit and tubers. So just because you found those occurrences of them happening doesn't matter, because on large scale, it wasn't happening. They were eating tubers. They weren't grinding up seeds. Maybe it happened once or twice. There's an artifact. Doesn't matter if every human tested didn't do it.
These highly mobile and nomadic people are associated with artifacts including large stone spear points suitable for killing massive prey, big stone knives, and scraping tools for removing flesh.
Why does that matter?
I misspoke about
Because it depicts what natural humans ate.
wanted to add in humans were depicting tools meant for only meat, not for plants. Broccoli didn't even exist at this time. Humans hadn't made broccoli yet.
Doesn't matter. Like, whatever you think is natural or whatever you don't think it's natural, doesn't matter. Split people into two groups, and the group that eats more broccoli lives longer and has healthier biomarkers on average. And this has been replicated, and overall, the more fruits and vegetables you eat, the longer you live and the healthier you become. This has been replicated.
Oh my god, this guy is so stupid. That's epidemiology, and of course, yes, if you eat fruits and vegetables, you have a higher chance to live longer, even though epidemiology, by definition, cannot report on risk nor cause and effect. But the point is, yes, if you eat fruits and vegetables and seeds versus the natural Western diet, yes, you'll live longer. No shit, bro. Everyone fucking knows that. If you eat all meat, you'll also live a lot longer. There's just not a lot of good trials on that because it's a very strict diet in this day and age, whereas adding in fruits and vegetables, then all the ones where they add in meat, it's like processed meats, and then it's with buns, and it's just garbage. Yeah, this is associative. It's not cause and effect. No one gives a fuck about it. Now, if you were to show me splitting up two groups, you lock them in a laboratory, you control for all factors, you feed one group all plants and one group all meat, blood, and the natural diet, and the plants outlive the meat group, I bow my hat. I say I was wrong. Until that happens, this means nothing.
It so many times over the decades. It doesn't matter if the fruits and vegetables have different shapes now. What matters is, what does the data say? And the data shows the more fruits and vegetables you eat, the more you live on average.
That is epidemiology, as I covered. That is not data. That is not science. That's childish. That's a joke. Okay? You can associate people who clean their windows more to lower risk for heart disease. You can associate. There's been associations made between smoking and living longer. It's fucking garbage. It's not science, by any definition of the word. Science has control. Science is, we're going to control for everything but one thing. That's science. That isn't, by definition, it's just very unscientific. It's a joke.
Cabbage. Broccoli is a completely man-made food.
Doesn't matter.
There is no wild version of it. And again, every wild version of plant.
If you have any semblance of IQ, you'd realize it does matter, because if something literally was created by us in our timeline, We would not be biologically adapted to eating such a thing. It's like Twizzlers, right? You don't need those to survive or thrive because they are man-made. Our ancestors did not need them. It's like such common sense. It's like...
Plants is extremely deficient in macronutrients.
But when you split people into two groups, and one eats man-made carrots and the other one doesn't, the one that eats carrots tends to be healthier and live longer. That's what matters. It's the
doesn't matter relative to what? If you had a group, he's going to repeat this garbage. It's not a good point at all. If you had a group of eating only raw meat, blood, milk, butter, kefir, and then you had a group of eating only plants, this group outlived, and there was a Lock-and-Ward trial over their entire lifespans. This group lived longer on average. I'd bow my hat and say I'm wrong. Until then, what are you comparing it to? The Western diet. No shit. It's better than that.
randomized controlled trials, and also observational stuff.
Oh my god, I would slap the... No, I'm playing. But this guy's so fucking annoying and dumb. Genuinely. Not because he's making a video about me, I don't care. Just his points in general.
Some value to it because they have the advantage of really high sample sizes. For example, with observational studies, you can actually have a sample size of 10 million, which is obviously something...
That's not a study. That's self-reported epidemiology. That's giving people surveys and saying, what did you eat the last year? That's not a science or a study. That's scientific by any definition.
You can do it with randomized trials.
All plants are missing vitamin A, DK2, B6, the active form, B12, taurine, creatine, carnitine, taurine, heme iron, CoQ10, cholesterol. All plants are missing those vitamins.
No, and his argument is going to be, oh, you don't absorb the vitamin A. Yes, you do. We have a bunch of studies showing that. And vitamin A can cure vitamin A deficiency.
And I also have a study showing it's a 5% conversion rate. That's also taxing on the body. Your body doesn't want to have to convert its vitamins. I mean, just logically think to yourself, should I be eating something I have to convert into what I want, or should I be eating the food that has everything I want already converted for me? Because you have one stomach, you do not have a rumen, you do not have a cecum, you have nothing indicated for fermenting plants into what you need. It's foolish. Why would you eat a plant pigment over real vitamin A? And this guy is in such bad faith for even trying to defend this. I mean, even most doctors will say, yeah, liver's a better source than carrots. It's like, come on, bro, this is so done. You're stuck in 2016.
But then the wild plants, the seeds are massive in fruits, they're a lot less sweet.
Again, doesn't matter. Even with modern fruits and vegetables.
If you split two groups, one lives... Like, yes, bro, we know, no shit. It's fucking not science.
Being different, people still live longer. That's all that matters.
Yeah. Vegetables are extremely poisonous. If you eat wild carrots, you throw up.
That doesn't matter at all, man. This guy has no scientific understanding or ability to interpret data or studies.
Things like that. Obviously, we were not meant to be eating vegetables. The only vegetable we traditionally ate was tubers. Okay, and they're very fibrous. We would eat them. We'd spit out the fiber. That was a somewhat form of hydration and a starvation food. And they were somewhat filling if you were to swallow some of the fiber.
Is he going to just talk about one article, the entire video? Is he going to show any studies? Outcome studies?
This is a study. This is an isotope. And outcome studies aren't scientific. You petulant child.
Showing people live longer eating meat? No, he's not going to.
That doesn't exist because every meat they use is not actual raw, healthy meat. They're using sausage and bacon and burgers.
Obviously.
You fill your stomach up, you wouldn't be getting nutrition, obviously. So the fact that we ate minimum 96% meat during the Ice Age is conclusive proof.
No, it isn't.
We are carnivores. We can completely thrive off only meat. Has every nutrient you need.
What do you mean by thrive? All the populations we know that have animal-based diets, they live even less than the Americans. But the Americans have a terrible diet.
Again, this associative garbage, it's like, is he talking about the Inuit in a cold climate? Is he talking about people without first world health care? It's foolish. By the way, a lot of the blue zones are meat-based, like Okinawa, Japan, seafood and pork-based. Of course, there's a lot of propaganda about that, like, oh yeah, they eat mostly plants. No, they've always been eating seafood. They're on the shore. You look at any society next to a lot of fish, they're eating the fish, by definition.
The Western American diet, and they still live longer than the animal-based populations, even though the Americans eat a ton of junk food.
And again, during analysis, we know meat has every nutrient you need, objectively, and we know that plants are missing 15 essential nutrients. And then, of course, when you avoid plants also have the anti-nutrients, things like goitre.
That's not an argument against it being true, even though Goethe popularized this.
Acid, oxalates, lots of other toxins.
Oxalates just don't eat 1 kilogram of spinach daily, and there are better leafy green vegetables than spinach anyway. And
it takes, your body can only detox 20 milligrams of oxalates per day, so if you eat any plants to any significant amount, you won't be able to get rid of all the oxalates. They'll crystallize on your bones, take your serum calcium. Why would you ever advocate for them?
And when it comes to most anti-nutrients, they're destroyed by cooking, and you don't eat...
You know what else is destroyed by cooking? Any semblance of nutrition in the plants, like vitamin C, is completely gone. Okay, goodbye. Then you're just eating dead fiber.
Raw rice or raw legumes.
Okay, oxalates are in fruits like kiwis, too. I know you're not cooking kiwis. I hope not. It would be stupid. Shouldn't be eating them anyway, but only seasonally, really.
Cook them. And when you eat whole grains or legumes, your lifespan increases. So who cares what you think?
No, it doesn't. It can't. That doesn't report on any person's individual lifespan increasing.
Happened during the Ice Age. What matters is outcomes. Do people live longer eating whole grains, legumes, etc.?
No, because you don't have a control group, you retard. You need a control group. You need a group of people only eating meat, raw meats, blood, milk. Then compare that to plant eaters, and you'll have an answer far different than you're probably expecting.
The answer is yes.
Trypsin inhibitors mess up your protein absorption. Every plant is inherently toxic. It's biochemistry 101.
Show me outcome studies showing that people that eat more plants die sooner. That's all I'm
You fucking idiot. I've already explained this 5 times.
asking.
And humans have just bred them to be a little bit less toxic.
Again, it doesn't matter what you think is natural, it matters the outcomes. People still live longer eating fruits and vegetables that are man-made compared to eating less of them.
And that's about
Like, bro, are you this stupid? Yeah, eating those is better than eating the typical seed oil sludge. No shit, man.
it.
A terrible video, obviously, just full of misinformation. He didn't really mention any outcome studies, and all the outcome data goes against what he says.
The outcome data, which isn't science. I mean, again, man, I'll debate you live any day if you're watching the video. I will destroy you, obviously. You're a petulant child, and you're uneducated. Your video was not good. Horrible points. But here, you can have the attention from me. There you are. But it's embarrassing. There's a reason there's a fair bit of dislikes on this video, because the information was simply deficient. All right, I'll chill out now. You know, if you trust him, you can go listen to him and be plant-based. It's your life, dude. I wouldn't recommend it. If you do trust me, if you believe I'm correct, which I obviously know I'm correct. That's how it is. I'm sorry. You can check out my school community if you want for all my guides. No pressure. You don't need to do that. You can also eat naturally yourself. But if you want like all my guides for looks and health and height, you check it out. A really good thing about my community too is the calls every week. So if you need custom advice with your diet, your health, your exercise routine, anything like that, if you need just personalized facial help, that's my main expertise. Check it out. Join up on the calls every weekend. Every Sunday at 2 p.m. EST, we have the live call. Join up, post your face. Me and other experts in the community will help you come out with a plan to look max, both soft max and hard max. So yeah, link down below if you want. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.